Sandy, Bryce, and Nick here, and we've got a guest with us who I am so excited to get to talk to because I've never had this opportunity, and I've heard so many things from my kids that came home from school after seeing him speak to my mom who's seen him speak.
Wow.
Finally, I get to say, I got to talk to John O'Leary.
Well, Nick, my encouragement is lower expectations, and I'm going to spend the rest of this conversation helping you live into that.
Hey, family set him high.
I don't know that there are many in St. Louis and soon to be the world who don't know your name, though, John. I mean, can you go out to eat and can you go to Schnucks or Deerbergs? Can you do anything without people recognizing you?
All the time. And the reality is that thank heavens for that when we get to go somewhere incognito and just spend time as a family. And on the opposite side of the coin, thank heavens when people come up and say, man, I want to let you know I read your book. I heard you speak. You spoke to me when I was in third grade. And something about that resonated. So we are grateful both for the moments when we have just private time as a family, and we're grateful for the moments when someone comes up and interrupts. And I say that with love. I mean, Christ was always being open to interruptions when they interrupt and get to share a little bit of their story. So Sandy, I'm both in awe of how many people have been influenced by this, and I'm aware that most folks haven't. And regardless of whether they have or have not, the work of John O'Leary is not his. I get to reflect a big old mirror into a marketplace and remind them that God is still God. That's the heart of the work we do.
Well, for those who don't know your story or don't know the details, and again, when this movie Soul on Fire comes out, I think the world's going to know. But you were 9 years old when you were burned over 100% of your body. I mean, when I saw this, I knew some of your story. I've read the book. You gave it to me years ago. But 1% chance to live is what you were given.
Right.
5 months in the hospital, the surgeries, the discouragement, the depressing, all of that. And then to see that now you're a public speaker, you've had a book, you've now got a movie. What a journey. But can you just give us a glimpse into your mindset? And I know this is going to be captured in the movie, but was there a lowest of lows moment that you can take us back into? Because I know that we all have those moments. So whether someone's story is the same as yours or not, they might be able to go, oh yeah, I have felt that way before.
Well, I think when folks first check out the film, they'll probably think they're about to see a film about a kid who got burned and what he went through and how tough he was and then what he did in his life. And that's not the film you're going to see. You're going to see a film, yeah, it involves a little kid who goes through a burn episode, but the real journey has less to do with that and far more to do with healing. And part of that's physical, for sure. But the real healing is knowing that you're worth, knowing your value, knowing your potential, knowing you're loved, knowing that you're saved, knowing that your past doesn't have to define you, knowing that your scars don't have to define you. In fact, if they do, what if they defined you for good? So the whole journey, Sandy, it's easy for me to point toward well, the day I was burned was pretty bad. Or the day where I woke up from surgery and my fingers had been amputated without my permission. That was kind of rough. But when you first asked the question, the first thing that came to mind was in college, when I wonder if I'm ever going to find love. In high school, when my buddies went to a dance and I stayed at home. When other people were confidently going off to job interviews and I was nervous because it meant I had to shake hands with someone. So the guy you're interviewing right now with a major motion film about how awesome he is, here's the truth. He's not. He's damaged goods. And I think that's what makes this thing so doggone awesome, is that I'm not, but he is. And that's a drumbeat we can all get behind and sing to. In my mind, this time they got it right. They put in front of us a hero story. And it's not the burn survivor and the motivational speaker and the father of four. That's not the story. It's the story of a sibling who sees his brother on fire and fights those flames. It's the story of a parent who sees what one of the kids did and meets him with grace and mercy. It's the story of the caregivers at Mercy Hospital who saw this traumatic situation not as the end of a story, but maybe as the start of the next one. Jack Buck, the radio announcer, this kid who's dying as an opportunity to show up and love him. And so it is ultimately a celebration of overcoming, of community, of faithfulness lived out. And if that's true in John's story, it's true in Sandy's, it's true in Bryce's, it's true in Nick's, it's true in every one of our listeners.
John, I know like the bullet points of your story, right? So I knew that you were a burn survivor and now you're this successful motivational speaker. What I didn't know until researching this movie is that you had what you described as an intense fear of public speaking and that it was a Girl Scout troop that had invited you that kind of helped you overcome that fear.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious what made you go through it. Like you had this fear, you said it physically made you sick
Right.
to go to speak to this small group. And I'm just curious, like, why feeling that way that you still felt so compelled to go through with it?
Well, Nick, I get as nervous on radio shows too, so don't let yourself off the hook, man.
Me too, sometimes.
So why I used to get so sick is because I used to view my worth as what other people thought of me. And so if Nick doesn't like me, then I'm nobody. And if Sandy does, well, now I'm somebody. And so if you're living your whole life based upon someone else's perspective of you, that's a lousy way to go through life. When my journey began to really, really change was when I was 28. So this is 20 years after being burned. So 28, and I'm in the back row of a church service. That's where the partiers hang out. So I'm in the very back row, but I made it in. My arms are a little crossed. The pastor's teaching on the gift of talents. And he went through 5 and 2 and 1, and then he came to us in the back row, and that's me. And he said, for those of us who feel as if we've got no talent, listen to me. Your life is a precious, priceless gift. You've got one job. Say yes to being used for good. I leave that service. I go home. I go to work the following day. A Girl Scout troop invites me to speak, and I would have never, ever, ever said yes to them. But the day before, my teacher said, say yes to being used for good. And so I took the dare and I said yes, and I got sick on the way. And it shows it in the film. I think they did a terrific job. I spoke for like 95 seconds and I was done. And then the Girl Scout den mother says, oh, any questions? And like every hand pops up. I'm like, oh God, I didn't sign up for this. So I walked out of there a failure, but one of the dads pulled me aside and said, would you speak at my Rotary Club? And then someone in there said, would you speak at my Kiwanis Club? And so this kid who had no desire at all to become a motivational speaker, none, got drawn into it. And God uses the broken man. Like that is true for me. And I'm telling you right now, it's true for you as well. Like he used this story. I didn't do this, but he's using it. It has led 2,700 speeches, 50 states, dozens of countries, millions and millions of people, and now a full feature film, not celebrating how great I am, but how great God is.
You brought up Mercy Hospital already. I know the trailer for the movie shows Mercy, SLU, Busch Stadium. Are there any other landmarks that we'll be able to see?
First of all, you said that like that's not a big deal, John. Please impress us with this. Please tell us you did something good for St. Louis besides those 3 landmarks. Well, here's something that matters. This story is St. Louis based. And so when we filmed, we had to film it here. And so Keener Plaza is there. The Arch is there. The MAC is there. The old train station downtown called Union Station is in the film. St. Louis University makes several cameos because it keeps showing up. A little place where John spent more than a couple nights called Humphreys makes it into the movie. Saratoga Lanes sneaks on in. My mom and dad's house in DePere, where they still live, is in the film. So this isn't like Hollywood doing Hollywood's thing. This is a St. Louis love story. And so it had been 13 years before major motion films here. Up in the Air was the last one. And now we've got this really life-giving film called Soul on Fire. And the best thing about it, Aim, is that St. Louis does a pretty good job sometimes beating itself up of who we're not and how bad we are and who we once were. And then you go into a theater and you sit down and the words begin, a true story. And then it goes into the music and you see the Gateway Arch. And then it comes in farther toward that and you end up with a little boy on a bike riding around his neighborhood. And scene after scene after scene reminds you not what we aren't or how bad we are, but who we are, whose we are, and how good we are. And so this film will be broadcast all over, but I really hope our friends in St. Louis recognize they're part of this story. And you're part of this story in someone else's life. It's the call to be generous.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, you talked about watching the film, and I'm just curious. you've got an experience most of us will never have, and that is getting to watch someone else play you on a screen. And can you even put words to what that feels like? And are you like, well, wait a minute, that's not how I did that? Or
Well, I wish I could say that last part, but the reality is Joel Courtney, who plays me, he was in Jesus Revolution 2 years ago, and he's just a great actor. He became John O'Leary. And so my team, I do speaking events. They used to worry if I got laryngitis or if I stopped showing up for work permanently. Now they realize they'll just call Joel and we won't miss a beat because he's better looking than I am. He's better spoken than I am. He moves just like I move, and he's able to deliver the lines. So Joel became me, and that was meaningful. But candidly, like to watch my sisters on film and to watch their reaction the day I was burned, to watch a dad come into the emergency room and say, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and to deliver the lines the way I remember them 38 years ago, to watch a mother, Stephanie Shostak was my mom in the movie, hold this broken actor's hand and say, do you want to die? And the little boy said no. And she says, well, good, take the hand of God, walk the journey with him, but fight like you never fought before. To see a girl, this beautiful brunette with brown eyes named Macy McLean, who looks just like my wife, walk down the aisle eventually, the same aisle that my wife walked down, in my wife's wedding dress, and eventually walk past in the second row my actual parents. Like the whole thing is just so surreal. That might be one word. Such a God thing, and so good. It's just such a good story of if you just hang on. If you can, you just hang on.
John, what do you hope as kind of our wrap up here? I can't imagine what it must feel like, right? You've seen it now. I'm sure your family has seen it, but the world's about to see it. What do you hope God does with it and through it?
I mean, Sandy, like I used to hope for numbers, and what a foolish wish. So it's not about box office or millions or whatever. It's one. That's how Jesus did his ministry, one at a time, embracing the interruptions. That's one thing. Second thing, my dad and I saw the movie together on May 15th. And my dad's my hero. If you go to the film, you'll realize why. He's a mountain of a man in the best sense of that description. He's just a servant. And my dad held my hand the entire time, which an hour and 40 minutes is too long to hold another man's hand. That's for a different conversation. But my dad held my hand the entire time. And at the end of it, he's had Parkinson's disease for 30 years. I said, Dad, what do you think about your film? And everyone in the theater is clapping. And my dad leaned over and said, what a gift. What a gift. He went home later that day, 3 days later got sick, went toward his bed, never rose from it again, and on May 30th was called home to heaven. The final words my dad ever spoke to me were in a movie theater. What a gift. And I don't think he was reviewing his movie. He was reviewing his life. And guys, ladies, leaders, listeners, my hope is as you watch the film, you dance out of that theater, not with how great John is or how heroic his dad is or how beautiful his wife is, but you walk out of there knowing that in spite of the struggles and the storms, that God is still God, the foundation is still firm, the best is yet to come, and you ought to proclaim loudly and clearly, what a gift.
Well, John, we can't wait to see it. We're going to be watching to see if there's any Joy FM stickers on cars that maybe pass by in the background. But
That's awesome.
It was just so great to get to talk to you today.
Well, the final song in the movie, little third day, baby. So I hope you
Yeah,
get a little
that's
bit of takeaway. Mac Powell, I know is a friend of you and your station. Mac has become a friend of mine. And I hope when people hear that song, they sing along. And at the end of it, they say, man, what a gift.